Hello, kabhaalytes. Welcome to the new update video. It's been quite the wild start to 2021. In the middle of January, I released this update video with my goals of what I wanted to do in 2021. Well, while that was all well and good, things didn't go exactly as I had planned. If we all remember, Calliope Mori released her song Off With Their Heads, and I just so happened to make a little video about it, covering what her message means to me as a small creator and a VTuber starting out. Well, that video got an unprecedented amount of attention for this channel. Even now, it seems to still be accumulating views. Rather fortunate in my case, but it's also thrown all of my plans into chaos. Now, I do say chaos, but it doesn't come without its upsides. We've had an explosive growth on the channel. More kabhaalytes have signed their name in the Nerdnomicon than ever before. As of making this video, 1,700 plus to be exact. And with all of the attention we've been getting, and everywhere it's led us, it seems we've also acquired the attention of the shoujo's very own Lich Queen. So, what does that mean? Well, I've been speaking with three very dear friends of mine. You may or may not know them: Jusagi Chan, Elle, and Booster, Generation Zero of JCC, a group of VTubers who are well on their way to making their very own VTubing agency, and even recently have acquired their own investor. Quite exciting, really. With their assistance and their guidance, I have changed up the timeline a bit since the last video, where originally I wanted to start live streaming sometime in June or July. I'm looking more at the beginning of April now. My model creator, Tim, and if you don't know Tim, you should definitely go check him out on Twitter. He's quite the accomplished artist, and I'm very thankful to be able to work with him. Is currently in the process of performing eldritch and ancient rituals to bring my physical being into the digital dimension. So what does that mean for live streaming though? That means that more than likely, in the beginning of April, we'll be going live for the first time here on YouTube and on Twitch and Facebook Gaming. That's right. I plan to broadcast the message of the gaming gods to as many platforms and people as possible. While the main headquarters of the Cult of the Violet Sign will be here on YouTube, that doesn't mean we won't be reaching our pseudopods into other avenues of engagement. Not only that, but thanks to some rather underappreciated technology, we'll be able to link together all of the chats, so nobody will be missing out on anything, regardless of the platform they choose to participate on. As for a live streaming schedule, currently I'm looking at maybe Mondays, Wednesdays, and maybe Fridays as well. With needing to still make content for the YouTube channel, I can't rightfully stream all the days of the week. Though, if there are projects I'm working on and want to share with you, there may be some unanticipated streams as well. You'll just have to keep your eyes peeled for anything that pops up outside of the schedule. So if you're looking forward to that and always want to stay up to date, you can go and follow me on Twitter or subscribe here on the channel and hit the notification bell. You may not like it, but it honestly works. It never hurts to have more names in the Nerdnomicon to preach the message of the gaming gods. So, moving on. Alright, so we've covered live streaming. But we started out as just a YouTube channel. So what is the future for it going to look like? Well, some things have changed and some have not. As you can see, I've already started out putting out horror content. And this I intend to become a staple of the channel, but not its main focus. You see, I am a cultist of the gaming gods, and as much as I may want to indulge in all things spooky, I still have to pay my dues to my monstrous masters. So what all does that mean? Well, let's go ahead and start with next month. March, as you may or may not know, will start the Alpha 1 test of Ashes of Creation, an open world PvP MMO that I'm quite looking forward to. And I'll be covering that with the assistance of a Twitch streamer and dear friend of mine. It's Fane. Because I won't actually be in the Alpha 1 myself. I made a little boo-boo in the last video, and meant to say that I will be in the Alpha 2. Though, if things do change, you'll be the first ones to know. And, if you follow me on Twitter, you'll know even faster. The next thing we should be seeing come along in March, and continue on through April and the rest of the year, is Dead by Daylight. You see, I'm a real big fan of the game, and what I want to do is a lore series for all of the killers, but not just videos. What I want to do is actually create a video that incorporates elements of motion comics for every single killer. Now, if you're not particularly familiar with what a motion comic is, oh boy. Essentially, it's still images with moving sections to present an almost comic book-like format in which to tell a story. And if you've seen any of my Friday night specials, you'll know that I do love a good story. Now this is going to be a project that's going to take a while to finish. Probably into next year. Or even beyond. But it's always going to be something that you can look forward to. And something that the skills that will develop from doing it, I'll be able to apply to other things. Now, the next big thing of note is going to be in May. If some of you don't know, Resident Evil The Village is supposed to be coming out in May. And am I excited for it? And no, not because of the reasons that you think. I do intend to play this on stream, but turn the highlights from it into a YouTube series. Because I'm going to be doing a special event where you as a viewer will have a chance to win a PlayStation 5 Collector's Edition of Resident Evil The Village. As for details, we'll touch on that later as the date comes closer. As for the rest of the year, a lot of the things I want to look at are still to be announced. I know there's Stalker 2, The Sons of the Forest, Little Nightmares 2, Outlast Trials, and something a little bit different, but the MMO Dual Universe. Now, that's not to say those are the only games I'll be toying around with. I'm sure we'll have other ones that I want to look into, and some other more thematic games that I can play on stream. Not only that, but I also plan to explore other mediums of horror media. From tabletop supplements to even new horror movies or books. Ultimately, there's quite a lot on the table, and even more on the shelf. It's going to be a busy year. So now that we've gotten some of the changes out of the way, let's talk about goals. Initially, the goal for this year was to hit 1,000 subscribers and reach monetization. Well, I have good news. As of today, we already have 1,700 subscribers and have managed to rack up over 4,000 hours of watch time. Congratulations, kabhaalytes. The channel qualifies for monetization. Now, since I've already met the goals for the year, I suppose we have to set new ones. And if we're going to go ahead and set new goals, let's go ahead and shoot for the stars. So, the new goal for this year is to reach 10,000 subscribers by the end of the year. And, you know what? Let's go wild. Let's see if we can reach partner on Twitch as well. Not even going to shoot for the stars. Let's aim for the void in between them and see what's just out there. So if that's going to happen, that means I'll need you, kabhaalytes, to go out and spread the message of the gaming gods. But speaking of messages, since we've had a rather large influx of members into the cult of the violet sign, we've received no few number of comments and questions. And now, if you want to stick around, I'm going to be reading some of them off and answering them. So, I've picked a handful, and the first of them is this one, from Michael Lovell. And he asks, have you ever read Scary Stories to Tell in the Dark? This really just hits in that same vein, though these books were as bad as they were because of those super creepy illustrations. Well, Michael, I think you might have hit the nail on the head. I was particularly fond of these books as a kid, and it was really my first exposure to horror media. I remember the illustrations vividly, and I'm sad that the movie recently didn't do as good, or was as creepy as I had hoped it would be. Oh well, I always have fond memories of it. This next one gave me quite the chuckle. It's like a Legacy of Kain character who didn't give a shit about Nosgoth, but just wants to enjoy life, no matter how shitty his world is. You know, despite how bad Soul Reaver 1 was, I'm quite the fan of the Legacy of Kain video games, so I'll take this as a compliment, one I'm really going to cherish. The next comment is from Harry Thompson. I'm subscribing because I like your design. It reminds me of the main villain from Strider design-wise, or many of those cloaked villains from 90s action genre. So that's sarcasm plus horror plus design? Yeah, I like the potential of where this is possibly going. Well, consider me flattered. Honestly, I like the likening to the 90s villains. I always envisioned myself as a bit of a henchman gone rogue. I'm supposed to be bent on driving the world into madness for my eldritch masters, but here I am playing video games and telling spooky stories instead. And for the last one, it's going to be rather long, but I think this is something that a lot of people should hear. Hero from the Dark writes, a great analysis, I love it. I'm glad I found this channel because you seem like a genuinely interesting dude. Well, thank you, Hero. I do try to prove interesting so everybody stays entertained. Hero goes on to write, one thing I'd like to add to what you've said. Years ago, I subscribed to a musician. He was small potatoes then, but with a couple of videos, he got tons of views, up to 6 digits, on those specific videos. And as he received more viewers, he became more active, releasing more music. The thing is, it seems he became more dedicated, and with better exposure, he had the chance to turn content creation into his full time. Like you said, you can't let the day-to-day analytics get to you, and this musician didn't. He started off small and kept working diligently. He didn't chase trends. He focused on doing more, producing more music. But the thing is, the last few videos I saw him upload only had 500-ish viewers. His subscriber count was somewhere around 50,000. His channel was and is failing. He wasn't chasing trends. He was working diligently, producing content he usually made. But the unfortunate reality is that sometimes a content creator might have to chase trends in order to get traction. It can't all be if you put your best effort forward, eventually it will pay off. Because sometimes what works is what's popular, as vapid and stupid as it might be. Even professional content creators seem to stoop to this, putting big red arrows in their thumbnails or a lot of exclamation points and question marks. Hero then says this. My question to you is this. Do you think that it is possible to be a professional content creator without chasing trends? Because that musician I subbed to ages ago seemed to prove a very negative side of content creation. Well, Hero, I think you pose a very interesting conundrum. I do believe that years ago, when the platform was young, you could work diligently and create something unique and prosper from it. But unfortunately, as YouTube has implemented the algorithm and machine learning to choose what videos become popular and pushed out to individuals, that chasing trends in some way or form has become somewhat of a necessary evil. Now, that doesn't mean that if, for example, Among Us blows up, which it has, that everybody should be making Among Us videos. Because the thing about YouTube is it's so large that there are so many trends going on at any given point in time that you have quite the pick. And there's also routes that are always going to be in one way, shape, or form popular. Take, for example, my Cali video. The one that caused this channel to blow up on a relatively smaller scale. It was a hot button issue. And when I made the video, I knew that it would be popular. Did I know how popular? No, not a chance. You can't really predict something like that. But I knew that it would be trending in some way, shape, or form, because I know how the algorithm works. Do I know it inside and out? No. That's because nobody really does. You can have your inklings, and you can do your research, but YouTube keeps that pretty well hidden under their hat. But what I did was I took something that was popular and made it my own. I approached it from a standpoint that nobody else had really done so, or as in-depth as I did. I took a unique approach to it and turned the trend into something that was beyond the trend. Another example that you could look at is my horror videos. They're not so much a trend, but they're a type of media that's always going to be in demand in some way, shape, or form. People love scary stories, and I'm just the right type to tell them. So, why not do it? But to answer your question, do I think it's possible to be a content creator without chasing trends? Yes, I think there is. But you either have to be very, very good at what you do, an unshakable authority on it, or so charismatic that it doesn't matter what you do. But those of us out here trying to create that have really none of that. A certain degree of trend chasing, I think, is going to be needed, at least until you build up to an audience that is rather self-sustaining. Now, part of that is being somebody that constantly evolves. You need to change with the times. Not chase the trends, but provide something that's new, stimulating. That's why I'm not always going to do horror videos, or always going to do Minecraft. I know that if I continue to do the same thing over and over, then people will eventually get bored. And people may just eventually get bored of my voice. It's inevitable. If you consume something enough, you become bored with it. So while I'm here and I have an audience, I'm going to do the best that I can and have as much fun as I can with all of you. And I hope you'll enjoy your time here with me. But that's about it for this end of the month update video. I hope you enjoyed yourself with it, and if you did, and you haven't already, you can do me a huge favor and hit that subscribe button and that reminder bell. You could also leave a like or a comment. Who knows, I may do another video answering your questions, or even, if there's demand for it, a specific video on content creation. I'm always willing to reach out and help those who aspire to something greater. If you have a specific question, you can always follow me on Twitter, and my DMs are open. I don't promise I'll get back to you immediately, but I will try. Until next time, kabhaalytes. Have you seen the violet side